Hello everyone, welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the NBA DFS Core Pick video for today, Monday, January 22nd. If you're joining me for the very first time, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over the injuries in play for today's slate. We will not be having a recap since it's been since Friday since I had made a video. And then after that, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and FanDuel and talk about my core picks. That is going to be one player at each position: point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, and center. But without further ado, we'll get right into those injuries for today's main slate. It's a 7-game main slate in total. And there is an extra 8th game, too, that is not on either site. That is the Atlanta Hawks and the Sacramento Kings. So we're going to start off with the Milwaukee Bucks. They got Giannis listed as probable with the shoulder injury. He did play in their most recent game, so would expect him to play once again tonight. And then for the Detroit Pistons, we got Monte Morris out once again. Cade Cunningham listed as doubtful due to his knee injury. And then Isaiah Stewart is kind of the wild card here. He is listed as questionable at this point in time with an ankle injury. I do believe he missed their most recent game, so we'll see whether or not he's back tonight or not. And then we move over to the Cleveland Cavaliers. They're without Darius Garland, Ty Jerome, and Evan Mobley. Karis LeVert is listed as questionable with a wrist injury. I believe he missed their most recent game. So if he plays, not really anybody we're getting to. If he doesn't play, opens up a couple extra minutes for guys like Sam Merrill and some of those other guys off the bench. But at the same time, nothing too crazy that stands out here for Cleveland overall tonight. Then we move over to the Orlando Magic side. They are on the back-to-back, so we will be getting their injury report coming out later this afternoon. Moving over to the San Antonio Spurs, Sissoko is out once again, and then we have Zach Collins and Dominic Barlow. Both listed as questionable. Collins been coming off that ankle injury. Barlow was assigned to the G League team. We'll see whether or not he gets recalled for today's game or not. Probably most likely that he's just going to stay down with the G League. And then if Zach Collins plays, Zach Collins plays. If he doesn't, then we'll probably see Mamu as that backup center for the Spurs team overall today. On the 76ers side, they are without Robert Covington and DeAnthony Melton once again. Jaden Springer is listed as questionable as well as Mo Bamba, but not major pieces of the rotation there either way. And then Patrick Beverley had been dealing with an illness. He is expected to play tonight, so he is listed as probable at this point in time. Then we move down to the Memphis Grizzlies, who are without Desmond Bane, Brandon Clark, Jake LaRavia, Derrick Rose, and Marcus Smart. So no major changes there. The one guy that we'll be looking out for today to see whether or not he plays is going to be Xavier Tillman, the center for them overall. He's questionable with a knee injury, he's kind of had that knee bugging him throughout the season. Did miss their most recent game. We'll see whether or not he's back tonight or not. If he misses, we'll probably see either Bismack Biyombo start or David Roddy. Just kind of depends on how they're feeling. Last game, I believe it was David Roddy that did ultimately end up getting the start, and probably could be the same thing today, with this matchup versus the Toronto Raptors, if that were to be the case. And then on the Raptors side, they just have Jakob Poeltl out once again, so no real changes for them whatsoever. Then we move over to the Charlotte Hornets, who are without Gordon Hayward and Mark Williams once again. Nick Richards is listed as questionable. He's missed their past 2 games with an ankle injury. And then LaMelo Ball is technically listed as questionable. He sat out the second game, I believe, of the back-to-back between Friday and Saturday. So he should be good to go for tonight's game, but still listed as questionable at this point in time. And then on the Timberwolves side, just Jalen Clark out once again. He's been out all season. And then we move down to the Boston Celtics. They're on the back-to-back, so we'll just see what their injury report looks like as the day moves along. On the Dallas Mavericks side, we got Dante Exum listed as doubtful with his heel injury. And then Seth Curry ended up rolling his ankle in practice yesterday, so he's technically listed as questionable for tonight's game. Seth Curry's been playing minimal minutes anyway, so not really too concerned about that. And then we move over to the Chicago Bulls, who are without Torrey Craig and Zach LaVine. So Zach LaVine's the biggest one there. He did leave their most recent game early, and he's going to be out for a couple weeks now at this point in time. Patrick Williams, Andre Drummond, both listed as probable to play for tonight's game overall. Both did play in their most recent game. And then on the Phoenix Suns side, they are on the back-to-back, so we'll see what their injury report looks like as the day moves along. And then last but not least, we have this 10 o'clock Eastern game, which is not on the main slate whatsoever. It's the Atlanta Hawks, Sacramento Kings. For the Hawks, we got Gaye, Hunter, Krevich, Wesley Matthews, and Trae Young all out for tonight's game. So pretty similar to what we've seen, I believe, in their most recent game. And then for the Kings side, we got Sasha Vachenko listed as questionable for tonight's game, kind of a role player off the bench for them overall. But with that being said, that's a quick little rundown on all the injuries in play for tonight's slate. As always, I will be listing all the injury updates as they do come out throughout the day down in the comments, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night. So definitely be sure you're checking up down there as we do get closer to lock. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to DraftKings and talk about my core picks over there. So we're going to start off at the point guard position with Luka Doncic, $11,200. Looking for 56 points out of him at the very least. He is underpriced at this point in time. It's a tougher matchup versus Boston, so maybe you're factoring that as well. But he's kind of priced at his floor at this point in time, especially as you've seen what he's done as of late. But he's averaging 63 fantasy points per game on the season. That means his price tag should be closer to $12,000 just in general. So we're getting a discount here. Currently, I'm projected for $59.60 tonight. Definitely could have a little bit of upside for more because it's Luka Doncic, and that's just what he does. And then we move down to shooting guard with Jaden Ivey of the Detroit Pistons, $6,700. Looking for at least 33-34 out of him. He is a guy that's a little bit underpriced too as well for his role with Cade Cunningham being out. Pretty much since Cade Cunningham's been out, he's had 36 fantasy points or more on DraftKings. So he looks like a really solid play today. Currently am projected for about 36-37. Definitely could have some upside for more in this pace-up spot versus Milwaukee as well. Then we move down to small forward, just kind of our pay down option here. Not a guy that I'm like super in love with at this point in time. Definitely a pick that could change throughout the day. It's John Conchar for the Memphis Grizzlies. He did start in their most recent game, played like 27, 28 minutes in that game. $3,900, so you're only looking for $19.20 out. Currently, I'm projected for $20.21 tonight, so just looks like a solid, safe value play at this point in time. Nothing special to write home about. Definitely a guy that could change throughout the day. Then we move down to power forward with DeMar DeRozan, $7,400. Looking for 37 out of him. Once again, we got no Zach LaVine out there, so DeRozan does get a little bit of boost from that. He's a little bit underpriced at the same time, so do currently have him projected for 39, 40 points. He's averaging 38.5 on the season. And even if you were just to get that, that would be outperforming his price tag technically at this point in time as well. But do like him, for that 39, 40 points tonight. Could have some upside for more as well, especially if this game's competitive versus the Phoenix Suns. And they could be missing a couple bodies tonight on the back-to-back as well. And then last but not least, we're going to go with Wendell Carter Jr. at the center position. $5,400. Looking for at least 27 out of him. He's got over 30 the past 3 games, so that is something that's very attractive. A little bit tougher matchup versus the Cleveland Cavaliers and Jared Allen tonight, but did start their most recent game. He played over 30 minutes in that game, and like I said, he's had at least 30 fantasy points on DraftKings as of late in the past 3 games, so definitely like the upside for him at this $5,400 price tag. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do have listed here, you have $15,400 remaining. Just over $5,100 per player, so looking a little bit more like a bounce build type of day. Obviously, there could be some other value that does pop up throughout the day that opens up some other spots, but definitely do like the core 5 that we have here at this point in time. Some guys that I think they're just a little bit undervalued and could really pay off for us in a big way today overall. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to FanDuel and talk about my core picks over there as well. So on the FanDuel side, at the point guard position, we're going to go with Markelle Fultz. He is $5,300, looking for 26, 27 points out of him. So he did start their most recent game, played decent-sized minutes. He's played decent-sized minutes 2 out of the past 3 games, so definitely like that for him. It's an interesting matchup versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's on the back-to-back too, so there could be like some worry that maybe he's limited today just in general, or maybe even sits out today, but sounds like Cole Anthony's pretty banged up too at this point in time. So like Markelle Fultz here today, currently I'm projected for about 28, 29 points tonight. Definitely could have some strong upside for more. Could have some downside for less at the same time as well. Then we're going to move down to shooting guard, and this was a position I did not like whatsoever on the FanDuel side today. Ultimately, just ended up on Malik Beasley. He's $4,600. So you're looking for 23 out of him. Currently, I'm projected for 22, 23. If he goes out there, if he's shooting the ball, his shot's going down, he's going to easily outperform this price tag. But, if he just goes out there, plays 28 to 32 minutes, and just kind of runs around, doesn't do a whole heck of a lot, then he's probably not going to do too well at this price tag overall. So just kind of a cheap guy that's going to go out there, play decent sized minutes, could ultimately end up paying off, but could ultimately end up kind of failing at the same time as well. Then we move down to small forward with RJ Barrett. So there's a lot of guys at this small forward position that project right around 5X. Ultimately just ended up on RJ Barrett, $7,100. Looking for that 35, 36 fantasy points out. I'm currently projected for 36, 37. It's a decent matchup versus the Memphis Grizzlies tonight, just in general. He's been playing really well with Toronto, so I do like the upside that he does present overall. And at the same time, the downside seems to be a little bit more minimal with him as of late. So definitely do like him as kind of a core pick today. And then we move down to power forward with Jaren Jackson Jr. $8,400, a guy that I did consider on DraftKings as well, but just with the price tag of DeMar DeRozan over there, did ultimately end up with him since I have a similar projection on Jaren Jackson Jr. and DeMar DeRozan. But on the FanDuel side, $8,400, looking for 42 fantasy points. I'm averaging about 37 so far on the year. Been playing really well as of late. And obviously, on the FanDuel side, you get some of that block upside. So I definitely do like that for Jaren Jackson today. As long as this game is competitive, as long as he's not in foul trouble, he's going to look like a really good play overall. Currently, I'm projected for 42, 43 points on the FanDuel side tonight. Definitely could have some strong upside for more. Does come with a little bit of risk for downside at the same time as well. And then last but not least, at the center position, we're going to go with Mr. Rudy Gobert for the Minnesota Timberwolves, $8,100, looking for 40, 41 points out of him. Averaging just under 37 on the season. Been kind of a weird year for him. He's had some really good games, had some stretches where he's played a little bit less and hasn't paid off. But in this game tonight versus Charlotte, I think it's a very favorable matchup. You know, if Nick Richards plays, probably a little bit better and safer for Rudy Gobert's minutes, but still has the same type of upside. You know, if it's PJ Washington starting at center, you know, there is the chance that maybe, you know, the Timberwolves start going a little bit smaller, move Karl Anthony Towns down, or put like Naz Reid out there. And then it gets a little bit more dicey for Rudy Gobert just in general. But I like the upside that he could present in a big, big way tonight. Do currently am projected for about 41, 42 fantasy points. You know, there's not a lot of value at the center position at this point in time. Maybe that's something that changes throughout the day, but Rudy Gobert looks like a pretty solid one in terms of upside for tonight's slate overall. But with that being said, if you go with these 5 players that I do have listed on the FanDuel side, you have $26,500 remaining. Just over $6,600 per player. So right now it looks a little bit more like that balanced build type of day once again. Obviously, there could be some values that do open up throughout the day that allow us to get to some higher priced players. But right now, it really does kind of look like that balanced build type of day, mix and match, and kind of figuring out the pieces that we want to play and then kind of going from there. Could also be a good day if you want to roll out multiple lineups and just kind of mix and match some of these pieces, because I don't think there's quite as many guys that do stand out from the FanDuel side overall today. But with that being said, these are my core picks for both FanDuel and DraftKings for today, January 22nd. As always, if you have any questions related to NBA DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comments below and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. I do ask that you please note whether those questions are more FanDuel or DraftKings specific, just so I can best help you as quickly and efficiently as possible. And then with that being said, I'll be listing all the injury updates down in the comments below as they do come out throughout the day, as well as the starting lineups as they do get announced throughout the night. And then as always, I will have my updated core about 15 to 20 minutes prior to lock. That will be left as a pinned comment. If for some reason there's no changes to the core at that point in time, I'll just leave a pinned comment that says no changes at this point in time. And then if there's any other additional changes that happen after that point in time, I will leave them as a reply to the pinned comment as well. So definitely just make sure you're checking up down in the comments as we do get closer to lock. But with that being said, if you are brand new, checking my channel out for the very first time or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we just got NBA DFS going on Monday through Friday in terms of the core pick videos. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Parlay Play, and Prize Picks. If you are a brand new user on any one of those 3 sites, when you make your initial deposit, you will get a first match deposit bonus for Prize Picks and Parlay Play. That is 100% match on your initial deposit up to $100. For BetUS, it's 125% match on your initial deposit up to $2,500. So some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. And then with that being said, if you have any other additional questions related to sports betting, prop betting in general, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comments or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in NBA DFS tonight.